Jumpers, skippers, and accidental rope wranglers. This week on the Jump Rope Podcast, I'm hanging out with Richard Head, Jump Rope Dad, Consistency King, and defender of the Mick Release's honor. We cover everything from flow state magic to what happens when your rope becomes a weapon. Spoiler, shin meets handle, handle wins. Richard also drops lumberjack wisdom, explains how jump rope replaced his video game habit, and tells us why beaded ropes are like mountain bikes and cross ropes are like Harley Davidsons. Come for the Mick Releases, stay for the accidental switch crosses. Let's jump right in. Richard Head, my buddy, I'm so glad you're back on the podcast. I know you've been on by yourself and also in groups, but it's nice to get a chance to just chat, you and I, again, because we keep in touch, pretty regularly through Instagram, direct messages, and send each other inspirational videos or music recommendations, but we don't get long form chats so much. So it's nice to be able to do that again.
Well, I'm super stoked, and I may be the first one to say this, and I was excited to say it, but like I was on when it was still Skip Squad Chronicles, so I just wanted to say, like, that makes me cool.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, super stoked to be back on. Appreciate you having me back.
That's funny that you said the Skip Squad Chronicles, because I actually I was at the park the other day and taking a break in between jumping, and I looked back. I was curious. All right, when did I come up with the idea for Skip Squad Chronicles? Like, what was the actual date? And it was September 22nd, because I sat down at, all sweaty after jumping and like made a couple videos and sent them to people saying, hey, I had this idea. What do you think? And would you be part of it? And so tomorrow will be 7 months, I think, if I do my math correctly, since I came up with the idea.
That sounds right, because I think it's been like maybe 4 since we did the last one. I want to say it was in like December we did that group chat.
Right. Yeah. And I think you were on like episode 4 or something like that. You were early on as well.
Hell
So actually, my point is that we've been doing this for over half a year now, like 7 months since the idea came up, and it launched not too long after that. And so we got almost half a year of episodes in the can. This is going to be episode, 7 or 8?
Well, and I said it before, man, but just what a cool idea. What a cool idea.
It's so fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's fun to be here too, but it's even better to like, oh, Papa Joe and Kathy Jumps and Patty and Aaron, and I can keep going. Doc Jumps was another really good one.
Oh my God, I love it.
That was super
so
fun
much
to listen to. Yeah. And Sarah,
she's so thoughtful about jump rope and movement and efficiency and stuff, and you can even like talking to her, it was so fun to nerd out about that. But then you watch her jump and flow, and you're like, of course, like, yeah, this lady knows what she's talking about.
She had made a comment about the EBs being not a side to side thing, but like a forward motion. And like I can do the EBs, but I feel like when I do them, I look like somebody's trying to smuggle electric eels through customs and not doing a very good job. You know what I mean? Like, but her saying, like, mentioning that it's a forward motion and not a side to side, they're starting to tighten up a little bit.
Like Grover from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
I'm very strong, but I'm
wired. Totally. Like, I'm all smooth with my crosses, and then the EBs come, and it's all over, dude.
It's funny that you say that, because I have thought about that over and over time. Like, every time I practice EBs, I think about M saying that, like, it's a forward folding motion. It's not like people think of it as this over the head thing.
Yeah.
And I was watching reels the other day and saw this guy doing EBs, and his was really like this over the head, kind of almost dancey thing. But I'm trying to learn to keep it tight, and sometimes that results in a high-speed whack to the back of my noggin.
Yeah, like it'll feel good when I'm doing them, and then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Like, just so side to side, but just bringing that wrist more forward, it feels a little bit sharper. So that's something that I've been kind of thinking about as I go.
Yeah. Do you do the same thing I do, where you're like working on something like that and you feel like, man, this just sucks. It's just totally not working. And it's actually set, like I was doing this earlier where I was trying to do the Mamba, right? And and I could get it to the other side and I could spin it a few times, but I wasn't catching it. And sometimes it was just kind of spazzing out, and this totally sucks. And then I stop and I pay attention to my wrist, and what am I doing? Am I keeping it tight, or am I like freaking out when I get it on the other side? And once I start like paying close attention. That's totally what I'm doing. I'm acting like a freaking Muppet, and that's why I'm losing it. I'm curious, Richard, since you were last on, which, like you said, was at the end of December, I asked people at the time, like, what were you working on for the new year? And I think if I remember right, you had an answer around consistency or kind of getting better at the stuff that you were already doing. But it seems like you've just made tons of progress since the beginning of the year. Like, I mean, that doesn't seem like it. I watch you. You've made tons of progress since the beginning of the year. And I'm curious.
Well, I think what you're talking about is I just wanted to smooth out the skills that I already had.
Yeah.
We talked about consistency and all that. And one of my bad habits is trying to like just do too much. Just because I'm excitable and let's do this and let's do this and let's do this. But I just really specifically over the last couple months, I've been sort of intentionally not trying to do new stuff, just try to, like the EBs we were just talking about. And honestly, I've been doing a lot more, just going out with my jump rope and putting on some music and just playing around, I know a lot of people are into their like, oh, I got to get this combo or whatever. But the second I start trying to do that, I don't know, it's just less fun. It's more fun to just put on your tunes and just let it go, and that's kind of what I've been doing that as opposed to, oh, you got to get out, you got to learn this, and you got to like I did that with my mic release, and that's the other thing I wanted to say. So on that group podcast that we did, we were saying mic release as like kind of a joke and
I know.
and at that point, I had not spun and caught a mic release, so I thought it was funny. But now that I've done that, it's a mic release, dude. I want to put some respect on it. You know what I mean? Like I got there, I grabbed it, I caught it, I did it, and guess what? It's let's put some respect on the name. It's the mic release.
So you're no longer making fun of it because now you've nailed that motherfucker.
Serious. Yeah. Now that I can catch one, I'm like, let's be respectful, everybody. Let's not make a joke about this because it's serious.
Yeah. Not only can you catch one, but you can catch it and jump it gracefully, Richard.
Yeah.
And I like that. Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that no, it's not funny. It's not, we're going to be respectful when it comes to the mic release from now on.
All right. That's cool. Yeah. I remember the episode where I told you that I saw your jump rope task list and on there was like be dog shit at releases. And you've definitely graduated from being dog shit, my friend.
Well, and it's I realized too, it's we joked about that whole thing, but it's it's part of it. Like if you go out to be, like we talked about, you go out to be awesome, then you're gonna disappoint yourself. But if you have to take that pill. So it's like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna be shitty at this, and then I'll finish up and I'll come back in, and that's just the less time I have to do it next time. I think about the mic release as like there's a certain number of times you have to miss. And everyone has a different number, but once you get to that number, then you're good. You know what I mean? Like, so all you have to do is go out there and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. And the quicker you can get through that, then you'll get it,
I think if you can have the paradigm shift that I'm not shooting to be dog shit, like I understand your reasoning. Like, hey, if I shoot low, then I can't disappoint myself. But I think if you can sort of shift it in your head to, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make 100 mistakes before breakfast. And those are notches on the belt that show that I'm putting in the work and I'm going to get this done. Then it feels less emotional when you go out and, you have that day where you just can't catch anything or you catch it with the back of your head like I did earlier today. Anyway, you mentioned being able to catch the mic release, and I mentioned you can jump it. What are some of the other things that you've kind of put in the bag since the beginning of the year or you've been working on?
I mean, just like I say, I was doing those really regimented, like 1 minute rounds, and I'm still doing those, but I've just kind of been okay with going out and, I'm just going to screw around for a half hour. And I mean, the mic release is the big one. Obviously, I'm pretty stoked on that. I've just recently started to try to kind of do it on the other side because I want to get there. And I think I've taught 2 so far, but it's just, you got to go out there and grind it. But again, no new stuff, just lots of enjoying it and getting to that like mental place that you and I have talked about, and just the consistency, every single day. I wanted to show this, so I started this for my push-ups, but what I did was I got a little monthly planner. I don't know if you can see, but I'm
Hmm.
literally marking down like every time I do my push-ups, when I do my rope, I'm keeping track so I know, let's
That's
say this
awesome.
April. Yeah, so here's yesterday. I got day 51 there in my push-ups, and nothing goes in this book until it's already done. So it also kind of keeps me from making these grandiose, oh, I'm gonna make, do all this shit, but nothing goes in here until it's done. And that tool has really helped me kind of,
Yeah. You're running
stay
on a cash
consistent.
basis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that's a bad habit I have, is I can make all these grandiose plans, and I'll put more food on my plate than I can eat, and then I fail. But with that, at least I can
Yeah.
see, oh, there's a couple, days of blank stuff, because I have the monthly where I can write down the push ups and days of rope, but then there's also, you can write down like your full day's exercise in there too.
Hmm.
So I can kind of skip through that and look for like, oh, there's 2 or 3 blank days now. Now I got to get back out and do some more
Yeah.
work. So that, just having that written down tool has been really, really helpful.
That's cool. I was thinking earlier, the nerd in me was thinking about like automating, basically like making a database. Like I like handwriting stuff in the journal, but I don't. There are times where I'm messy about it, or like one day, I'll go out and like I went out and exercised earlier and I didn't write anything down in the journal about what I did, but I was thinking I could make a little database for this in like Notion and have the AI ask me questions and then answer the questions and have it put it in the database so that I always record like what
Yeah.
song I was skipping to and
Yeah. Yeah.
what I did for warm ups and whatever. Be interesting to know. I'd also like to just know the cumulative amount of time I spend warming up versus
Yeah.
jumping and at different parks and stuff like that. I don't know. I might nerd
It'd
out
be
and
cool
make a
to cross
database and
reference all the
I know.
different, all the,
Yeah, I might have to do that. So, have you had mental changes since the beginning of the year? Has jump rope affected you mentally in any different way
I mean, not, I wouldn't
or
say differently, but just, man,
more of the
just,
same?
yeah, just getting in there, and, I wanted to kind of talk on the, there's the guy who starts, like the guy that gets up out of bed and, oh my God, I'm sore and my knees hurt. And you stretch out and you warm up and you start listening to music and you start jumping and you sort of transform into this different person. And I really have been trying to focus on that, like when I'm just starting and it's cold and everything sucks, and why am I doing this, and I could
Yeah.
be in bed and all that. And I really try to make a bookmark in my head then. And then it's like, all right, stupid, let's go, turn on the
Yeah.
music, stretch out. And then, I get my
Yeah.
stretches done, I get my warm up done. Now I'm like 5, 6 minutes of rope in, and now I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
you can't stop me, motherfucker, and just then make another bookmark and see like I've gone from A to B, and it's possible. And, I got to do it again tomorrow, but just keeping
Yeah.
track of that sort of transformation in my brain, just versus, the exercise that's done. And I think that's if you focus on that one thing, like it's there, you got to trust it.
Hmm.
It doesn't always feel like, okay, I feel so bad and so
No, but I
sore. And
totally appreciate that. Yeah. Like I've had those mornings where I roll out of bed and I have this thought that goes through my head like, wait, am I gonna get to an age where I'm just too old for this? Like where
mm-hmm.
my joints like are just like, no
Yeah.
effing way, you're not jumping today, buddy.
Yep.
And I creak around for a few minutes and then I'll warm up a bit. And I also tell myself, no, you walk like a superhero, like
Mm-hmm.
buck up, Dillweed.
Yep. Well, yeah, and there's that
And then
dark
I
spot in
just
your head. Oh, go
then I
ahead.
straighten my back and then I try and like shake
Yeah.
it off, dude. Like there are people in a lot worse shape.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like, I don't, I think you said before that we were possibly similar ages, but there's just that fear of like, man, I'm old. Is today the day I go out and just something
Right.
pops or whatever? And there's another buddy of mine that I talk to. We joke about this of like, you get up and you go and you work out and you lift your weights and you do whatever. And the reason you do that is so that you can be in good shape and feel good. But if you go too hard, then you hurt yourself and now you have to take it easy, and then you're ending up on the couch fat, ugly, and stupid, and like just the same way you would have been if you didn't do any exercise in the first place. So it's such a like, oh my God, nothing, knock on wood, nothing too bad has happened. But it's always that thought of, am I just tricking myself so I can stay in bed and just saying like, oh, I can't jump or whatever, but just kind of getting through that whole mental gymnastics to get out to the point where the sweat starts coming and the music starts flowing and you're feeling good, and you know and then you got to go down into a kitchen with a bunch of 20-year-olds and
boss them around.
yeah,
Ask them why
yeah,
they didn't cook the salmon.
yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right.
You've probably heard me, because I know you listen to that podcast, but you've
Every single one.
heard me call back to you talking about applying the principles of consistency and persistence in jump rope to things in other areas of your life outside of jump rope. I'm curious, like, how is that going? And do you kind of consciously catch yourself doing that? Like, oh, hey, yeah, if I'm going to be my jump rope self, I got to buckle down and.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, and I showed this book already, but I think just the mere fact of getting into this book and writing it down consistently, and it's, just coming back and doing that. I guess I don't have specific examples, but just in realizing that if you go and put a drop of water in a bucket every single day, you're going to fill that bucket up. And so just kind of, communicating with family a little different and just realizing like a little bit every day you'll go so far, you know what I mean? And I think I don't have specific examples of, other amazing things I'm doing, but just trying to kind of be confident that if I just touch this one thing every day or
Yeah.
and
Is there some
just
aspect of your work, like if you think about how you interact with people at work, could you say, hey, I do this better because I jump rope or because I exercise?
well, I think just, as a, I'm not trying to blow smoke up my own ass or anything like that, but I'm really learning that, to be a leader and to help, other people do well, you have to, there's guys 10 years younger than me that are coming in every day like, oh, I'm tired and blah blah blah. I'm just trying to go like, no, dude, you're alive, man. Come on, we can do this, and just kind of trying to lift people up, even if you don't necessarily feel like that yourself. But those mornings where I'd come in early and get an hour of rope done, everybody knows, fuck, he's been jumping his rope again. God damn it, you know what I mean? And I'm
They
all
walk
like,
in the door and you're like,
yeah,
whoa, let's
yeah,
go, let's
dude.
go.
Yep, yep. They're clocking in, and I'm singing Katy Perry songs, and they're like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah,
Meeting,
yeah,
family meeting.
we're in trouble today." So I mean, that's a super fun thing, and
Yeah.
yeah, just trying to show people like I just want to spread the word, man. I think people, with just the way things are, man, we have to take care of ourselves, and as we get older, you start to just decline. And so I always think of that like at some point on the day you die, there's going to be, if you looked on a graph, there'd be a certain day or a certain week where you're in the best shape of your entire life, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't know how long we're going to live. We don't know the future. And so if when we get into our 40s and all that, if you do nothing, you're declining, right? So it's very possible that if you're not working to improve, then whatever that high mark on the graph, it could very easily already be behind
Yeah.
you, even if you're in good shape and you are feeling good and whatever. So I'm just realizing, all the people out there and the government and all those guys, they don't necessarily want us to be taking care of ourselves and feeling good, because then we're going to need to buy into their system and go to their doctors and do all that stuff. So they don't really push that message of like, dude, go out there and drink less booze and do some exercise and eat good, because they can't make money off that. I want to spread that, whether it's whether it's at work or whether it's talking to you or whatever. Like, I want to spread that message of like, it may not be easy, but it's better than the alternative. If you don't make a little space to make yourself better, you're going to have a little space to be sick and, you know, need help
Yeah.
from somebody else. So the further you can do, the better. So that's
Yeah.
definitely something I want to let people know.
It's hard to say this, but I believe that, jump rope isn't for everybody, and it's not as fun for everybody as it is for me, like, And in fact, sometimes it's kind of bewildering to me because it's so mystically fun to me that when people don't stop and just go, "Oh my God, that is the coolest thing," I'm like, "Wait, what's wrong with you? This is like fucking jump rope."
Yeah. But yeah. No, just the other day I was at my daughter's softball game, and sometimes I'll bring my rope and just kind of rope between innings, and I was jump roping, and this little kid walked by with his mom, and he grabbed his mom and, "Mom, what is that?" And the lady goes, "Oh, that's just a jump rope," and just kept walking. And in my head, I was like, "Shut up, lady! It's not just a jump rope.
This is my mental health.
This is the most awesome thing I've ever come across my desk. It's not just a jump rope.
It's my superpower."
Yeah. The kid was so like, "Oh my God, Mom, what is that?" Oh, that's just a jump rope. Don't worry about that. Yeah, lady, you don't know. Yeah, yeah. You guys go on? Okay. I love you. Sorry, I'm here.
What is the most unexpected way that jump rope has affected your life?
I think it's been a good replacement for bad habits.
Bad habits like
I know you're goading me into saying pot, but it's not. It's not that.
No, I just had a vape in my mouth.
No, just I don't know, dude. Just like wasting my life away. Like I would come. Not that I don't play video games anymore, but I'd come home and I've worked all day, so I'm tired, so I'm just gonna sit on my ass and play video games and
duty.
Yeah. And so I think that if it's anything, it's that, because if I'm jump roping, I'm not making money and I'm not doing all this stuff, but it's better. It's better for my health and it's good for my mental health, better than certain other habits that I had before. So I think that's what it is. I think now if I look at my overall scrolling time or video game time or any of that stuff, I think that it's gone down and my jump rope time has gone up. So I think over the course of the next 10 years of my life, that can make a pretty big difference. And I also think that if I'm 45 now, if I'm 50 or 60 and I can still get out there and jump rope for 10 minutes straight, then I'm doing better than 90% of the people that are in my same age group, and if I can jump rope, that means I can pick up grandchildren and I can go hiking and I can take my dogs on walks and I can sweep my wife off her feet and like all that kind of stuff that, there's all the things I want to be able to do for the rest of my life. If I can jump rope, that's a guarantee that I can do those other things.
Yeah. I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
Like if you can maintain that, you're not going to end up being one of those people that's bent over and just can't straighten their spine.
I'm bent over. My posture is, I'm sure you guys can see it, but my posture is messed up. That's another thing we're going to work on.
Jump rope helps that, right?
Sure.
So let's talk about beads, because I think when you were on originally, you were like an all crossrope guy. Like that was basically your thing. In fact, I went back and watched part of it. And I think you had a crossrope that you had duct taped, or you had electrical tape or something down at the bottom.
Yeah, it had wore down to the wire. And actually, if you get on my page and you scroll all the way back, all the way to the very beginning, I think it's the first. There's a couple pictures, but I think the first actual reel where I'm jumping rope, my crossrope handle had actually worn through. The metal had worn through. And I couldn't use it anymore. And I had started Richard Head Jumps and put a couple pictures, but I didn't do anything with it other than that. And then my rope had broke, and Crossrope's awesome. I sent them one email and they sent me free replacement handles right away. But I had this like 4 or 5 day period where I didn't have any ropes at all. And I think because of that downtime, I ended up like, okay, well, fuck it. I'm going to start this Richard Head Jump things. And I'm going to start, because I had been posting on my private Instagram and just I just felt like I was bothering everyone with that shit. So I was like, cool, well, I'll just make you guys don't have to follow me or whatever. And it was because my rope had broke. And I think it's that first reel, you watch that, it was like, hey, I got my new handles, let's go.
Yeah. I think we also had a little bit of a conversation about beads, and at the time you hadn't really used much of a beaded rope, right? And you've got one hanging around your neck. And I was going to ask, like,
Kathy jumps.
Nice. Yeah, Kathy, isn't she a gem? So how many beaded ropes do you have?
Just this one.
And how do you find it? Like how is using it different than using the crossrope?
So if we put it in cycling terms, I think crossrope's more like a road bike. Like you can get that crossrope on and go. And I think I've heard a few other people talk about it, but with the beaded rope, it goes a little bit slower. And if your position is not right, like the beads can kind of catch on each other. So it's a lot less forgiving as far as your form goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that at the time. And yeah, once I started with that and started doing tricks and started, it's just a different feedback. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
difference between like a road bike and a mountain bike, or
Yeah.
something like that. Like they're both ropes, but it's a whole different thing. Like, do I want to get on my Harley and get out on Route 66 and just cruise? If
Mm-hmm.
that's how I'm feeling, that's the Crossrope for sure. But if I want
Mm-hmm.
to do tricks and I want to whatever, then that's the
Mm-hmm.
beaded rope. And so it's given me like a choice A or choice B. Like I can still jump rope, but it's like, hey, do you want to just put
Yeah.
on your tunes and cross and flow and EB and mick release? Or do you
Absolutely.
just want to get in there and do your, like with the cross ropes, I'll do like a minute round and 10-second rest
Mm-hmm.
and just see how far I can go with that.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing of just like, yeah, I'm not really worried about tricks, but I'm just gonna see how far I can push it and how long I can go.
Yeah. I don't have a crossrope, but I did get one from Hero that's similar to a crossrope. It's a quarter
Yeah.
pound and it's got the,
Yeah.
you know, pivot or the metal ball bearing
Yeah, like the
handle thing.
bearings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 4 ounce crossrope's my bread and butter, baby. God damn it. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's fun. And it's fun like when you get it moving that you get so much feedback from the extra weight
Mm-hmm.
and get it moving and go so fast that you barely even have to pick your feet up, you know? Like it
Yeah,
feels like you're
yeah,
just
just
kind of floating.
yeah. Just like
That's a
you're
fun
levitating
feeling.
a quarter inch
Yeah.
above the ground.
Yeah, I love that.
Such a cool feeling.
So, how much of the time are you jumping with your beaded versus your crossrope?
Well, it's been way more beaded lately, to be
Really?
honest. Like I'll get, yeah, like if I'm gonna go, like if I'm gonna do my workout and I'm dead hanging and planking and all that stuff, definitely the cross ropes are
Hmm.
coming out. But like
Hmm.
the days when I'm, I'll do a stretch, I'll do a warm up, and then yeah, if I want to like just do 20 minutes or just work on tricks, then it's gonna be the beaded rope. And I still think that we talked about this the last time, but I think before I thought, oh, the beaded rope, if I'm doing tricks, then I'm going to miss skips and I'm not going to get as much physical workout as I would from the cross ropes because I'm going more. But I actually find that with the beaded rope, I'm a lot more beat up afterwards than I am with the cross rope. And I think it's because, the cross rope, like you said, I just got to like float above the ground and that's it. And I think I get a lot more upper body workout from that than anything else. But with the beaded one, I'm shifting my weight and I'm going backwards and I'm swinging my
Yeah.
arms around like a maniac. And so, half hour of beaded rope, I'll feel pretty winded, and pretty much equal to if I get my cross rope out. So I sort of
Yeah.
have been able to push that idea out of my head and like, yeah, either way, it's good.
Yeah, it feels to me like if you can get your rhythm going, it almost doesn't matter the weight of the rope, you know, like if it floats your boat. Like I have a friend who has one of those Kathy jumps ropes
Hmm.
and I didn't use it, but I did look at it and it's a lighter beaded rope. Like and not that it's super light, but it's
Yeah.
lighter, whereas like this one that I have from Europe is one of their pro ones and it's got a thicker cable and it's just a little bit heavier. And I like that for feedback and learning stuff. Um, but you know, you can actually do releases with those 4 mil PVC things that are flimsy. It's just you got to learn
Hmm.
the technique and you got
It's a
to,
different, yeah, it's a different
adapt it a little
spin
bit,
for
right?
sure. Yeah, I was doing, I tried to do some Nick releases with I have a PVC also. Like the third one,
Yeah.
I broke the handle on it. I was like,
Oh, did you?
okay. Yeah, I mean, I got this little kid was there. I was at my daughter's trapeze thing, and he came and brought me the piece, and so I can glue it back in. It should be fine. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
just
got
nothing hits like my beaded rope, man. It's just so good.
Yeah, for those releases and stuff, that's the
Yeah.
best, I think. I got cocky with the Hero, one that's kind of like the cross rope with the big clunky handles. And I was in the park and I was like, all right, I can do a release. And I did a release and I caught it. And then I did another one and I took it in the knee. And those
Oh no.
handles are substantial, it's not
Yeah.
like the plastic beaded rope handles. It's like, chunk. Okay,
What?
maybe
And
I should, yeah, shift focus. Curious, like, do you have you developed any unique like jump rope combinations or things that you're doing now that you're especially proud of, or that you find yourself going back to?
dude, I've been really stuck on switch cross.
Yeah. Stuck
Really
like
stuck on it.
stuck like.
No,
having
that's
trouble learning, or you're
I mean, like I can't get enough. I just can't get enough, and just the you know, because I can do the I think it's right hand over left, and then switch back and cross. And I've recently been trying to kind of do both because I know a lot of people can just do that infinite switch cross, and I can get a few under, but just trying to do like right over left, switch cross, and then back to open. Now left over right, switch
right.
cross, back to open. Trying to train because I've been struggling to do the infinite one. So over the last maybe 2 weeks, I've been trying to just very purposefully right over left, switch cross, open. Now left over right, switch cross, open. Just loving that, man. It's so much fun because that was one
So
I thought
for
I could
some
never do.
So for somebody who's listening in and not seeing your hand motions, which are very elegant, by the way, how can you describe the move switch cross? Like, what is it?
So just think of a straight. So you're jumping, your hands are, I'm going to make this just so we can see hands, not because I'm whatever, but so you're opening and then you go into a cross, right? Cross comes over and then you're back to open. But with the switch
Mm-hmm.
cross, you're going to go down and cross and then you're coming up. And instead of going to open, you're going to actually switch your hands this way. And
Right.
now when you do the next jump, you're jumping through a cross again, but your hands are switched. So you're going
So,
into your cross around and then right about here, you like switch your
yeah,
hands and now you're still jumping through that cross, but you've switched your hands above your head. And it's something that I saw, like, I could name, a million different people that I saw
yeah,
do that, but just like, what?
yeah,
That's possible? You know what I mean? And
yeah. It looks really cool when it's done smoothly. I was kind of messing around with it today and I got it a couple times and also whacked myself quite a few.
well, I love it because if you pull it off right, like, it's almost like you have to go, did you guys see what I did? Like,
Right.
you
Yeah.
didn't see how cool I am. You have to check it out. Like, here, let me show you again. But actually, here's what I'm doing there. Like you have to kind of like
Yeah.
slow it down a little bit. And I'm not nearly as good as a lot of people out there, but just that like that you don't
Yeah.
even know what I just did, but it's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
The first time I did that, it was a total accident, and Aaron Jumps 365 pointed it out
Oh
to me.
yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah, that's totally cool. You got a switch cross in there." And I was just goofing around on a bench, flowing, and my hands did that, and it happened to work out that I didn't trip myself.
I was trying to make a reel maybe a week ago, and I thought that I was doing it both ways, right? Like right over left and then left over right. And oh man, I comboed so many of these different ones together.
Yeah,
And then when I went back to watch it, I have this very distinct tattoo on my left wrist.
yeah,
And so I can watch that tattoo to see, keep track of right over left and left over right. And I
yeah.
went back and watched it and realized, like, no, dude, you're just doing it that one way over and over and over again. I thought I was alternating and I was super cool. And then I went back and watched it and I was like, I slowed it down, like, nope, you're just doing it on that one side over and over and over again, brother. You need to try again.
That's
So that was
interesting.
sort of like, okay. It was disappointing, but
I had the opposite thing happen the other day. Not in that I was watching a video of myself doing crosses and realized that I was doing it right. And I hadn't thought
oh,
about
nice.
it. Like it was, changing my hands the way that I wanted to change my hands rather than just kind of doing it the same way over and over again, which is how I started doing stuff. But it was just kind of like, I actually did that without thinking about it. That's nice. So now that you've had this experience with this beaded rope and you've had your cross rope, like if you had to design your perfect jump rope, do you have thoughts?
Man, I have thoughts, but also like I love this rope like a
Yeah.
lot. And
Yeah.
so I don't I sometimes I feel like it might be a little too short because I really do struggle with like double unders. I always end up headphones just come off every time. And so I don't know.
It's fun, isn't it?
Maybe a little more length, but I'm also like, I don't know, dude. It's just like I
Did
don't
you
want
are you using
another
it
one.
like at the out of the box size or did you resize it and
No, I
then
sh I
get it
shortened it
loose?
up. I shortened it
Okay.
up for sure because it was super long when I first got it.
So
They
how
come
you're
with
like
like pink and
6.
blue beads, and I took those off. And I'm
Okay.
like 6'1".
Yeah. So when you size yours, do you have a specific length you go for or are you stepping on it and trying to get it to your
Like to my armpits ish, I guess. I know you have them
Really?
like 84.92 beads on each rope, and I
Me
haven't got
more
that. Yeah. I haven't got that scientific, but then I don't have that many ropes. I just have my cross rope, which I know that's probably a size too big. And we talked about knots before, so I keep one knot. in my Crossrope, and then I have this one, and then I have one more like a green PVC rope that I've been using. I was talking with, I think his handle is one bad leg. He does all kinds of crazy cool releases and stuff, and I just happened to see that he was trying to do 7,000 double unders by the end of the year. So I texted him. I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm in. So I'm at like 6,100 left or something like that for the end of the year. And that PVC rope I started doing, I learned that I could do the like the southpaw doubles.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, I think if anything new I'm gonna go into, I wanna start learning some more double variations. I know Sean Skibbs has a bunch of crazy ones, and
Yeah, he's so fun
freaking
to watch,
Aaron and
isn't
his
he?
Aaron and his craziness, and one bad leg. And
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of the direction I might be heading, just because I haven't done much with that PVC, and I sort of just picked it up, never really trying a southpaw
Yeah.
double, and I was like, one of my reels, I did a couple in the morning and just put a video out there like, is this a thing? Am I doing this right?
Right.
I've seen people do what I think this is. Is this it? And
Yeah.
just being able to like, oh shit, I can do this. And so yeah, more double variations, I think, is what I'm interested in next.
Did you watch any?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna ask, did you watch any of Rob's, like Rob's 360, Rob's underscore 360? Did you watch any of his reels?
I listened to the podcast and I really liked it. And I have kind of a note of like, dude, I need to bust that guy's stuff open, because I know I've seen a few where he looks like a goddamn, like a Street Fighter character
Yeah,
or
totally.
something. He's like, oh, just the crazy stuff that guy does. So I do need to bust his page open. I haven't yet, but I intend to.
Yeah, I was messing around with trying to do some, like, he's got some instructional things on how to do the 360s, like to do a wrap. And as you're going around, you're unwrapping. And here's the point at which you jump and stuff. And I was out in the
So
park.
he's got some instructional stuff on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
He's got a few where he'll go slow-mo and kind of show you what he's doing. And he's really funny. So I was out at the park today and I started messing around with that. I was like, oh, this would be so fun. Of course, I'm standing on a limestone bench that's 2 feet off the ground, spinning around and rapping. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'll just get down off the bench for now while I practice this.
Just for a minute.
Yeah.
Just for a little while.
So I wasn't a complete idiot, just partial. Yeah. I know you still are oftentimes in your reels posting your workout, like, 60 push-ups and that sort of stuff. Do you have a set pre-jump ritual now, or are you still kind of just putting on the timer and you've got it programmed
so
in?
if I'm gonna jump, I think the one, like, oftentimes I'll stretch out. I have like a 15-minute stretch out routine that I do, and oftentimes I'll do that, but not every time. But the thing I always do, just for fear of injury or whatever, I program this. It's just called jump rope warm up ladder. But what it is, it's a pre-programmed 10-second rest, and then 5 seconds of jump rope, and then a 10-second rest, and then 10 seconds of jump rope, and then a 10-second rest, and then 15 seconds of jump rope. And so it's 10-second rest, and then the rope goes up by 5 seconds every time, and then it ends at 1 full minute of jump rope. The whole thing takes about 8-9 minutes. But I always do that before, if I'm gonna do any kind of significant amount of time of jump rope, just for fear of like my knee exploding or something like that if I don't get some kind of warm up. But I'm pretty religious about that as far as jump rope, just that kind of jump rope warm up. I should probably be doing my stretch out every time, but definitely the 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds to kind of just build into it a little bit.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I have learned, not the hard way, I just learned early on that it makes sense to do the warm up. Like, yeah, it may take me 8 minutes to get through my little circuit of things that I do, or longer if I do it multiple times. But yeah, the benefits, it's also like the post jumping thing, like, do you have a cool down? And I have not been great about cooling down. I've been like, okay, well, the sun's set, I'm getting out of the park, and then but lately I've been taking the time to just stretch, a little bit more.
And after.
Yeah. And I think it makes a difference. Like, I don't know if it's a vitamin thing or just, overuse or whatever, but I've had a few times recently where I've had like those Charlie horses, like you get when you're a teenager, where it just like doubles you over, like, oh Oh my gosh. I've had a few of those, and so
I'll get those when I'll do dead hangs.
yeah,
And when I do the dead hangs, you kind of got to bend your leg so
yeah,
it doesn't touch the ground. And then with my knee, with my leg bent up like that, sometimes I'll get that Charlie horse while I'm just
yeah,
hanging there.
yeah,
And then I'm just like, oh God, I gotta kick my foot out, but I'm still trying to hang for that 30 seconds. It looks pretty silly, I'm sure.
yeah. That's hilarious. When you were first on, I was asking you about like social media and how has being on Instagram sort of changed your jump rope journey. And I think at the time you were still relatively new with things, and we had like engaged a bit on Instagram, over the previous few months or whatever. But the community's gotten bigger, and I know you're a lot more connected to people. I'm curious, like, how has the jump rope community shaped what you do or your life?
That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one because everybody's so awesome. You know what I mean? Like if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would probably just tell my family like, "Hey, I'm just going to say nice things to jump rope people for 8 hours every day."
Yeah,
You know what I
totally.
mean? Like I could do that. You know, if I didn't have
Right.
other responsibilities, I
Yeah.
would do that. So it's really a catch 22 because there's so many awesome people in there, but just like everything else, I don't want to get carried away just scrolling and making comments because there's just infinity amazing people out there. And
Hmm.
obviously there's certain people that you kind of end up bonding with, like you and I have kind of made a connection, and you see different people and
You
different
and I have
things.
made a
And
connection. We didn't tell everybody that your daughter, was it your daughter or your wife that said that you were going to talk to your jump rope boyfriend?
yeah, as I was getting ready for this, I was told my daughters, and they're like, "Okay, have fun talking to your jump rope boyfriend." And I told them, yes, he jumps rope, yes, he is a boy, and yes, he's my friend. So whatever.
Proud to be your jump rope. Yeah,
Yeah.
your side piece.
No, yeah, we don't. Yeah, I teach the girls to give me a hard time because the world's going to give them a hard time. So if they want to use me as a training dummy, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've thought about that story that you told about you guys being in the airport getting ready to
Yeah,
go. And
yeah. Does anyone jump rope? Oh my
just it.
God, I
Oh
need
my God.
help. Yeah, you never saw Steven Seagal pull out a jump rope, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the balls.
Hugh Jackman does, though.
Oh yeah, he might. Oh yeah, actually, didn't wasn't there a video of him jumping rope going around
Yeah.
that I
I
saw?
think there's a
Yeah.
few. Yeah.
All right, Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman, if you're out there,
I think he even
good
does a
job, buddy.
cross in there as well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So the answer to the question is it's sort of mixed because you'd like to be on Instagram all the time, but
Oh, yeah, I forgot all about your question. Yeah, so it's just such an easy road to go down and like lose all your time. So you have to really. That's my struggle is because I want to just be fucking around with it all the time, but it's
Mhm.
not. That's not necessarily healthy to be
Right.
having positive communications with other human beings through my phone all day and all night, every day, every
Yeah.
night. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, how much cake should I really be eating? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it. Is I don't want it to be such a good habit that I'm doing it so much that it becomes a bad habit. You know what I mean? Like it can't be Christmas every day. So if
Yeah.
there's any downside to it, that's what it is. It's just an infinite number of people that I feel like I have this thing in common with, and just the community. And I think the jump roping is cool. We talked last time about I used to do a lot of cycling, and I
Hmm.
loved it, and I still love it. I still think it's amazing, but I never really felt super connected to other cyclists.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I would see,
Hmm.
I never wanted to go really ride with other people. And when I was out and the type
Hmm.
of people that are riding around on those $8,000 bikes and whatever, I never really felt like I had, besides the actual act of riding that bike, I never really felt like I had a connection
Yeah. Yeah.
with those people. And then when I started jumping rope, even even if I didn't, I feel like a lot of the people that I see on there, they're using, whether they say it or not, they're using that jump rope to deal with, anxiety or trauma or whatever, and whether they say it or not, and whether they want to put that out or not, I feel it. And I feel like, I've discovered that this helps me a lot. And I think there's a lot of, not that everyone's struggling with mental health issues constantly or whatever, but I smell that on a lot of the people in the jump rope community more than other places.
That's an interesting way to phrase it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that it's easy
And
to
I could be way off. I could be way off, but I feel like, and like Kathy Jumps was talking about she lost her brother and that jump rope helps with that. And so I don't know. I couldn't write it down and I couldn't show you who is and who hasn't, but I feel like there's a lot more of people dealing with, just mental health, whatever,
Yeah.
and that jump rope helps them
Yeah.
with that. And then also like I think, I have a couple people that I know jump rope, but I don't go to a physical place and jump rope with other people really at
Right.
all.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of enjoy being that lone wolf and like I'm just out here doing my own thing. And so I think there's that component too. Like the jump rope community is like, hey, look at me, but like stay over there. Don't come, I don't need you in my space, but watch this.
Through
But
the internet.
yeah, go
Yeah.
over there. And once you're far enough away, okay, now watch this, watch this. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's some of that too.
Sure. That said, though, like I can't wait to do some meetup stuff. Like,
Oh yeah, me too. I
and
would love to.
the more episodes that I've had where I've talked to people who've gone to meetups, the more I'm convinced, like, oh yeah, that's where my peeps are. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
I can
Yeah,
totally
I would
imagine.
never, I would never want to go to some like, oh, there's all these guys gonna ride their bikes around, but like,
Right.
you would get me mixed up with the jump ropers, dude. Hell yeah, I would go for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard, I don't know that there's anything confirmed yet, but rumors of potentially a meetup on the East Coast sometime in the fall. And I was thinking, all right, well, maybe I could get Richard to fly to Minnesota and then we'll road trip it in my car. We'll get Papa Joe to fly over from Australia. We'll all meet in Minneapolis and then we'll road trip it out there and meet in New York or something.
Oh man, I don't know how realistic that is, but I would love to.
I'll tell you what, if there is a meetup that happens in the fall in New York, I will sell my left leg to go. Like,
You're gonna have a hard time jumping if you do that.
dude, I can figure it out.
Yeah, you make it happen.
I can skip on one leg quite a bit, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a skill.
But I do think, yeah, we've got it. And at some point, I do plan to come back out to the Seattle area because I've got some family out there, and
That's what I'm saying, dude. Seattle, West Coast jump rope meetup, dude. Come on.
yeah,
Let's meet in a place I
totally.
don't have to fly to.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to do that. Of course, I've got family in the area, and there's so many cool places around Seattle that I would love to jump.
Oh, for sure. And everyone's a maniac out here. So if you're out there jumping rope, no one will even look twice at you. You know what I mean? Because we're all freaks out here.
Yeah. I was curious, when talking about the jump rope community, how big that connection is. So, how many different countries do you think you get comments from on an average Instagram reel post?
On an average post, I mean, I know I get a lot from like the UK and from
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
And I'll get a ton, and I don't know where they come from. So I mean,
Right.
countries, that's a tough one. I really don't know, but yeah, I'd say 5 or 6 on
Yeah.
average per reel, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I know Peta's in there, and I think Laura's from Canada, and then Aaron's from UK, right? And then there's a bunch I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That friend of mine, the photographer who did some photo shoot stuff with me, she posted a reel, and I think we were collaborators on it. And before 8, there were comments from like 6 or 8 different countries. And it's like, this is so crazy. And there are people that I follow and I love, like it's so crazy to feel so connected, through it's such a cool side effect of jumping rope, And I totally agree with you. I could get lost in it. I've had those days like on a Saturday where I go out jumping in the morning and then I come back and I am going to take a break, eat something, watch a little TV or something like that. And I sit there for 2 hours just doing great job, Richard. Love that double under, whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why a lot of my reels are, some people put out these reels that are super snappy and whatever, and I think the way I do it is I want to get out there and get sweaty and do whatever I've decided to do, and
Mhm.
then once that's done, whatever it is, then I'll turn on that camera and kind of just give it 5 or 10 minutes just to see what I can come up with, rather than making the
Yeah.
final video like the focus of my whole activity. Like
Mhm.
I don't want it to turn out to just, oh, I'm just out there to make this awesome reel, and that's the point of the exercise, is to create this reel for Instagram. I really try to, and to be fair, sometimes I do go out and like I got this reel inside me and I want to get it done, but I do try to prioritize, the activity itself. So I'm not just, oh, I'm just doing it for the gram, because I don't want it to be about that. I want it to be about, me getting out there and moving my ass around instead of sitting and just getting old and dead and smelly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about what you said earlier about sometimes rather than just putting on the timer and making yourself do things, you're just kind of flowing more, basically.
Yeah.
Like you're just putting on the music and stuff. And it made me think about this book by this lady, Betty Edwards, called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. Like I was learning how to draw, and the whole thing in this book is like learning how to shift so that when you're drawing, you are being more analytical and seeing the shapes and stuff. Like if I were to try and draw your face, there's emotion, there's stuff that is hard to capture. I don't see it as lines on a grid, you know? And so this book is about sort of shifting from left to right brain. And I think about that with jump rope as well. Like that whole idea of, hey, I got to do this 8 move combo and I got to pull this off or whatever. That pulls me out of the flow state and puts
Totally.
me in that analytical state.
Yeah.
Now I've got to do this and then I've got to do that or whatever. And I like to be in that flow state so much. I will say that there have been times recently where I've been jumping to a specific song and there's a bridge or there's some part in the song where I feel like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this footwork would totally go great there. Or when I do this, it feels right or whatever. And then I will try and replicate that. But I like to get to the point where I'm not thinking about it. I still don't
Yeah.
really choreograph stuff, but I
Yeah.
have caught myself several times going, oh yeah, like this, you know, today I was jumping to Jump by Van Halen. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there's certain things you kind of have to do when you're listening to David Lee Roth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you're right though, and I think that's also why I haven't, not to make excuses, but I haven't been taking on a ton of new tricks and whatever, because it's sort of, we talked about this before, like you can go and practice something new and then you're skip, stop, and it doesn't really
Mhm.
feel cool. Or you can just go like, hey man, I can EB, I can switch cross, I can, do these things, I can do my crosses and just crank that music and just go to town, and it's just
Yeah.
something magical about that, just something super duper magical about that. And I
Yeah,
think I'd
totally.
rather, half the time, I'd rather just get in and just flow and do my crosses and whatever. And if I don't have a new trick each week, I really don't care, because I can feel it. I can feel the magic,
Yeah.
and that's what it's about.
Yeah, it makes me think of that episode with Kathy Jumps where she talked about how she did like basic bounce and like boxer skip for like a year or a year and a half before she really like tried to learn other tricks, and how she credited
It was
that,
so, oh God.
just crediting that for having that, you know, base understanding and that base flow with those moves so that adding on to it, you know, things were more graceful.
Well, and it was amazing to hear her tell that story, because I mean, it's same for me, dude.
Yeah.
I started with, we talked about my 30-second rounds and just basic bounce,
Mhm.
and I didn't even really know there was anything else other than that. And so, yeah, I went for like a year and a half, just basic bounce and stuff. And the funny thing, the mind blower about hearing her tell that story is that she was the one that, when I found her, she was the one that made me realize, like, oh no, dude, this is a Mortal Kombat game. There's combos and there's, you can do this and you can do that. And
Yeah.
so to hear her tell the story of like a similar background to me, but like she was the one that, I saw Lauren Johnson, whatever, and she's
Mhm.
doing her dance moves to the songs, and hey, that's fine. But I didn't go like, hey, I want to put on a short skirt and dance around to these songs. That wasn't really something for me. But when I saw
I did.
Kathy Just yeah. You're such a cutie pie, by the way.
Thank you.
But when I saw her, she was like, "Oh, you can do this combo and you can do this." And the way she explained it was the same way my fucked up brain works of like, "Oh, here's
Mhm.
this and here's this and this and this and this all together, and you can do it all, or you can just do one piece and
Mhm.
whatever." And so it was cool to hear her tell that story, and with her being the one that made me
Yeah.
go like, "Oh shit, we can do all this other stuff." So that was super super neat to hear that from her.
Yeah, I really like
And
that.
she was even saying that seconds app, she uses that same app
Yeah.
that
It's
I that
funny.
I that I've been using.
I didn't realize that it's the one that you've been using, but I did buy the pro version of that and I've been using it as well. I programmed in a few different interval
Yeah.
things, which
And
is
it's cool
nice.
because you could program in your stretch and you could program in your warm out and you could program in, different pieces of it. And so
Yeah.
then like if you just want to stretch out, you can just stretch out. Or if you want to stretch out and jump rope warm up, then you can put those two together. And so
Yeah.
you can really mix and match different pieces like pizza toppings. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
only have 10 minutes, so I'll just do this one piece. Or
Yeah.
I have a joint in 2 hours, so let's put all this stuff together and just see all what we can do.
Yeah, I got a little bit like over eager when I set up my first one. So my first interval thing is 29 minutes and 30 seconds or something. And
Yeah.
it it's cool because I had a whole bunch of stuff set up in there and it might be exactly what I do normally, but the fact that it was one big block of 29 minutes, I was like,
Yeah.
I got to break this down into like 7 minutes or something and then
Yeah.
just do it multiple times because
Yeah.
my
So that's what I
brain
love
can deal
about
with
that
that.
app too. And then
Yeah.
also like if I'm gonna get up early and work out like the night before, I can just sit in there and like do, program in like here it is, dude. Here's your chunk. And it's
Yeah.
funny because at night I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna plank for this much time. And then in the morning I'm looking at it like, who said this was a good idea? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? But then I gotta go do it.
Yeah.
So just following through. That's the other good thing about that app is you set yourself a goal and then all right, dude, now you decided this was a good idea. So
Yeah.
let's go.
You know what I mentioned that I was going to do, and I have not been good about, but going back to that idea of setting up a nerd database, one of the reasons I was thinking about it is that when Coach Nate was on, one
Mm.
of his recommendations for learning is, all right, you're going to do releases. You do 10 on the right side, you do 10 on the left side, you record how many times you hit, like how many times you catch each side, and that's it. You move on, and like, and he had a couple points. One was, like you're not looking to improve your number every day. You're looking to improve your average week over week or like
Yeah, like
month
over the
over
week.
month. And his other point was that by nature of practicing it on your non-dominant side and feeling really awkward with it, it reinforces it on your dominant side. And I've had that happen with the release thing where the first couple times after I talked to him, I went out and I was practicing releases on my non-dominant side and I caught a couple of them. It was awkward and I probably looked like an albatross crashing into the side of a boat, but I caught it and then I missed several and stuff. But then I went back and did it on my dominant side and was like, whew, got it.
Yeah.
You know,
No, yeah, with the Mick release for sure. I'm definitely experiencing that. But it's I was excited because when I started to try it on my non-dominant side, I had just been through like 6 weeks of, going out and being dog shit. And so I thought like, okay, if I'm gonna do it on the other side, it's gonna take another 6 weeks. But because I had sort of learned the procedure on that side, I like probably the first night I tried it, I caught one, I caught and jumped
right.
one.
Yeah.
And so now it's just
It's
like
like your
everything
body
else.
understands the physics of it. It's like you got
Yeah.
to get your left and right side to talk like the same language, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So just the fact that like, oh wow, this might not take 6 weeks to get it on this other side was pretty exciting. But then it's still again like I got it good on that one side and I love that flow, Dizzy. I love it. Like I don't want to interrupt it for practicing, but I think
No, I
I
gotcha. I
struggle with
totally.
that. Because I love being awesome at jump rope and I fucking hate being bad at jump rope. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I was thinking
I
about that
struggle
too
with that a
because
lot.
we talked about like just the joy of getting out and or if for me sometimes it's just mental health stuff like all right, nah, I've had a rough day, I'm putting up with
Yeah.
this other stuff and I want to just get out and flow and turn my brain off. But I guess what I'm telling myself now is if I were to do what Nate sort of recommended and say, all right, I'm going to do 10 on each side, like 10 releases on each
Yeah.
side does not take 10 minutes. Like that's, a matter of a
Yeah.
couple minutes, write
Yeah.
it down and then do my 10 EBs on each side and then move on. And I'll pick my 2 or 3 things that I'm working on and just do a few of those. And then it doesn't feel like a big interruption. It's like, okay, this is a few minutes that I'm putting toward it every day to get better at it. And I have noticed that I have gotten better at a few of those things because I'm not really practicing for like 10 minutes for EBs every day. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're practicing for like one playlist worth of music or whatever. Like that's the better metric, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah. I can't say I'm actually practicing a skill for an entire playlist.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, no, I
practicing a
get it.
skill for like a song played twice and then I'm
Yeah.
moving on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure.
So any goals for you now over the summer? What do you want to accomplish with jump rope?
I think the doubles, like we talked about, I'm interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I think I want to get some more ropes, some different ropes.
Mm-hmm.
I've been kind of like, oh, I want to stay in my little comfy place, but I think yeah, getting a couple more ropes, the doubles. I'm I'm curious how many days in a row I can go beyond the 100 days. I kind of have that in my
Is
head.
it day 51, 52?
Let's see here. It
My checklist is downstairs. I'm wearing my
what's
shirt.
today? Monday? So day 52 on the West Coast.
All right.
That's the other thing is like I'm on the West Coast, so I'm like people are like somehow they're 8 days ahead of me. Seems like I
I
open my
know,
phone and
Papa
happy
Joe.
day 100, everybody, and I'm
I
like, what are
know.
you talking about? I'm still
Right.
behind.
Yeah. Yeah. It is confusing to me when I open up and see like Papa Joe or PETA from Australia. They're just, I think, one time zone before the,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
the dateline.
And I think I had what skipping the midlife crisis had done
Yeah.
like a
Laura.
however many, and I told her like, okay, I'm in, we're gonna do this. And then we got to day 30, and I was thinking it was a 100-day challenge. And we got to day 30, and she was telling everybody, like, okay, good job, everybody. And but wait, it's only 30, 30 days,
Mhm.
So super stoked to be part of the Jump for Joy 100. But
Yeah,
I
me
don't know.
too.
I want to keep it going, man. I want to get that whole book filled out for a full year and just, push ups and jump rope
Yeah.
and all that stuff, man. Just a little bit every day. I was at my
Mhm.
daughter's softball game before we came here, and I hadn't done my push-ups this morning, and just okay, do 10, do 15, and you're at 60
Nice.
before you know it. And I could have spent that time scrolling on my phone. I could have spent that time, doing something
Mhm.
else. And so I think the push-ups and the jump rope, and not necessarily, with so much stuff going on, you can't just keep adding things you're doing. So when you're
Yeah.
adding the exercise, it has to replace something. So as long as it's replacing something that's not adding value to your life, then
Hmm.
it's positive.
Yeah. I've totally noticed that the one side effect of getting healthier and seeing the benefits of jump rope is just the way it affects what I eat. Like last night
Yeah,
I went to the local grocery store to pick up a few things and man, they put all of the Entenmann's cakes right up front and the
those bastards.
cupcakes. I know all the stuff that, and I hadn't really eaten that much until dinner time. And so I'm walking through thinking that looks good, that looks good. But I just walk right by, like
Yeah.
I don't stop and indulge myself. But there was a time, when I first moved to Minnesota before I found jump rope and stuff where I'd go to Costco and I'd buy that 6 pack of those big ass muffins and then
Yeah. Oh
or
yeah. The Costco muffins.
or cake muffins or cakes. They have those
Dude,
like
it's
they'd have
those are
the
cakes, man. You can tell me they're muffins all day long, but those are
yeah,
not.
but
That's a
they
box
also
of
had
six cakes.
cupcakes, but the like carrot cake is like, I don't know, a pound and a half with
Yeah.
great stuff. But yeah, I definitely that's one of the reasons I lost several dress sizes is because I no longer eat those things.
Well, and I have a kind of I have an added struggle of, my job. I'm working in the kitchen, and I have to
Yeah.
like, I'll get in trouble if I don't, my
Taste.
bosses and my boss's bosses come around and go, did you taste that? Did you
Yeah.
have some of that? What does
Yeah.
that taste like? Did you have
Yeah.
that? What about this? what do you want? You know what I mean? So it's like this never ending. So that can be a little tricky to navigate, but I'm learning to do it. But yeah, that's another that, speaking of little bits at a time, I think that's where I put on a lot of that weight. It's just like, just all day long, just all day long, just sort of unconsciously, just all day long. And when I sort of stopped that cycle is when I dropped all that weight. I dropped
Mm.
30 pounds, 40 pounds, maybe,
Yeah.
when I kind of got started. So it's been kind of exciting to kind of keep that going too, just because,
Yeah.
I take the dog out for a walk, and when I take her, I'll put 20 pounds on my back. And it sort of hit me on Saturday. Like, I used to actually just weigh this much. And now I got 25 pounds on
Yeah.
my back, and
And I
I'm
could
lugging
drop
it
it.
around like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I realized, like, wow, dude, I used to weigh actually more than this,
Yeah.
now. And so it's kind of, it's pretty exciting too,
I,
but that's the other thing. And I don't know about how you feel, like if you're getting in good shape and you can jump rope and whatever, and how long did it take you to get there? But we know that if you were to just fall right back in your old habits tomorrow, in like 6 days, you'd be back to like absolute, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of,
6 days I would gain 30.
yeah, no, totally. And I really believe that's true. It takes so long to get to this good spot. And now you're in this good spot. And it's almost a little bit like scary because, like you could go back the other way and just be back to where you were in 19 hours of just being, doing all that stuff and eating all those Costco cakes and all that kind of stuff. Like you could go back there like that. So I get some anxiety from kind of thinking about that. Like, oh man, I'm a week of bad behavior to be back where I was before all this even started.
Yeah,
So
you'd
it's a
have to
little, it's a
behave
little
really
nerve,
badly, Richard, right? To be
man.
like to
I
gain
could do
30
it. I
pounds
believe
in a
in
week.
myself.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I was thinking about this the other day. I've had a couple occasions in the last year where I've overdone it and injured myself, and then I've had to take a
Yeah.
few rest days. And
Oh
the
shit, Charlie horse. Okay, I'm good.
so yeah, speaking of overdoing, where I've overdone it and I've had to take a few rest days, and then on like the third day, say I take 2 rest days, and then the third day comes around and my brain is saying, maybe you should rest a little more. And then part of my brain is saying, get out there and jump rope. You'll feel
Yeah.
better. And I've had a few panicky times where I've thought, I don't want my brain to ever get to the point where it decides, no, procrastinate more. And
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah.
it's
Because
a
then you're like,
weird,
is my brain doing me a favor, or is my brain just want to stay on the couch?
yeah.
You know
And
what I mean?
no, I've had a lifetime to know that my brain does not always have my best interest in mind.
Oh
So I
yeah.
need to
No, I
get
get
off my
that.
fucking ass and jump rope. Yeah.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah.
Agree, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, Richard, I really appreciate your being willing to come on and chat with me again.
Oh
This
hell
is
yeah. Super fun.
always a blessing, always fun. And man, anything you want to shout out to the community? Any last words? Not last words.
Yeah. Let's tell the lumberjack story.
Yeah, what's the lumberjack story?
Okay. So there's two lumberjacks, and they work together every day, and they're chopping wood 16 hours a day, every single day. First lumberjack is a young guy. He's big, he's strong, he's tough. The second lumberjack's a little bit older, he's a little bit leaner, he's a little bit slower. But every single day, the older lumberjack has more wood chopped at the end of the day. Every single day. And not only that, but the older lumberjack disappears for an hour in the middle of the day, and then he comes back. And for that time, the older lumberjack is gone. The younger lumberjack
Hammering away.
just chopping wood as fast as he can. But inevitably, every day, the older lumberjack who disappears has more chopped wood at the end of the day. And so this goes on for months. And finally, the younger lumberjack tells the older one, like, hey man, we get along, everything's good, but there's no possible way you should be able to chop more wood than me. And you disappear for an hour every day, and you come back and you still chop more wood than me. What is going on? Where do you go? What is your secret? You disappear for an hour. Where do you go? And the older lumberjack seems kind of surprised by this question, and he just says, well, well, I go home and I sharpen my axe. So I heard that somewhere, and I really like that, especially for some of us older guys that, you know, if we want to beat those young guys, we got to keep our axe sharp for sure. So
Yeah.
I wanted to tell that story.
So you're sharpening it with a beaded rope now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, me too, man.
So that's what it is. But yeah, as for us guys, as we're getting older, man, we got to do something, or we're just gonna dissolve into the couch.
It's funny, you know, I've asked several people, do you feel like jump rope has made you feel like you're reverse aging? And so far, everybody that I've asked has like not even hesitated. Like, just like, yes.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yep.
Yeah, like
100%.
totally. 100%. I feel the same way. Like, I'm in better shape than I've ever been. And I used to be like boxing, you know, martial arts kind of stuff.
I can impress a 3-year-old at the drop of a hat. You know what I mean? No problem.
Well, good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm older than 3 and you impress me constantly. So
nice.
Right on. Well, thanks again, sir. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And we will do a group podcast before too long and get you back on.
Yeah, man. I hope I'm considered a friend of the show. And like I say, man, I really
you are.
This whole idea has been so
you're my
amazing.
buddy.
And just to kind of hear, you know, your story and, you know, all the stuff that you've done to help me behind the scenes is really appreciated. And just thanks to everybody so much for improving yourself every day. I appreciate that shit. Keep it up.
Yeah. Right on. Thanks, Richard. Love you.
Yeah,
have a
no
good
problem,
one.
brother. Yeah, I love you too, brother. I'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Hey, friends. Thanks for hanging out on the Jump Rope Podcast. We genuinely appreciate your spending your precious jumping recovery time with us. If you had a skip-tastic time, or even if you had a pretty decent time, please smash that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, why not toss us a 5-star rating while you're at it? It really helps new jumpers discover the show. Got friends? Of course you do. Spread the jump rope love. Tell your friends, your family, your neighbor, that rando at the grocery store checkout, anyone who needs more jump rope joy in their life. So until next time, keep jumping, keep laughing, and remember, life's too short not to skip with a smile. Catch you in the next jump.